Welcome to the Postgame Wrap. I'm Jared Johnson, and I'm not going to lie, it's a dark day for Texas Tech sports as the Red Raiders fell to Wyoming 35-33 in double overtime. And there's a lot of analogies I could use right now, but the bloom is off the rose in terms of thinking this could be a special season. Now, can it still be a special season for Texas Tech football? Absolutely. It's going to be something you look back at as a wake-up call. But, man, there are a lot of problems to fix. And I'm going to list them off. First off, just the overall toughness. Now, Tech did battle with Wyoming. They battled back. They forced overtime. That's true. But way too many dumb penalties. On the board, people were arguing, is this a penalty or is it not? There were a lot of bonehead mistakes by Texas Tech, specifically on defense, but not just the defense. The offense, poor execution, drop passes, false starts. The offensive tackles are very much a concern. They were a concern going into the offseason, concern going into the season, and they're very much still a concern after the performance in Laramie, Wyoming, as Monroe Mills gave up at least one sack, Caleb Rogers at least one false start, and was beaten on a handful of plays again, where it's like the rest of the line is doing their job. Caleb Rogers gets beat, and it messes up the whole rhythm of the play. So tackle's still a problem. Inside linebacker is way more of a problem than I thought it was going to be, especially with Jacob Rodriguez out. He forced a fumble, recovered the fumble, and was hurt, and didn't come back. And they weren't the same at inside linebacker. Josiah Pierre had double-digit tackles, but missed a lot of plays, was out of position in several plays, and inside linebacker is a concern. Also, the offense. I mean, Tech jumped out to a 17-0 lead. Looked like it was going to be a runaway game, which is what I was expecting ultimately. I mean, I thought Wyoming would do some things, good team, all that. But I thought Tech would win going away, and that's what it looked like at first. But Wyoming came back, and they scored 20 unanswered points. Tech would tie it. They went to overtime, went to double overtime, and then Wyoming was able to get the two-point conversion, which Tech was not. And, honestly, going into the two-point conversion that Wyoming got, which was just a run, a pretty basic run, some of their basic stuff, and they totally overpowered Tech on that. And the running back, the fifth-string running back, walked into the end zone. I said to myself, I said out loud that Wyoming deserves to win this game. They outplayed Texas Tech. They out-toughed Texas Tech. Tech had several advantages on both sides of the ball. They were out coached too. There's a lot of people that are going to be down on Joey McGuire after this. I'm not one of them. I think he's a great coach. He's learning. He's the perfect fit for Texas Tech. This is a black mark on his record. I mean, there's no line. And they were out coached. Craig Bohl and his staff, Craig Bohl, the head coach of Wyoming, and his staff out-coached Texas Tech and their staff. I mean, I don't think that could be debated, to be honest. Tyler Shuck looked shaky for the first time in a while, on that 4-game winning streak to end the season, especially obviously in the Texas Bowl where he was the MVP. I mean, he looked really good for the most part. And there were some deer in the headlights looks from him even before plays. I said to myself and out loud that he looks nervous, and he played nervous. And I thought some of the play calling on offense was suspect, but then again, some of it was just a lack of execution. I mean, Jerand Bradley dropped what would have been a big play late in the fourth quarter, late in the game. A long pass, and it was the right read by Shuck. Obviously, it was a good play call. There was two guys open. Shuck chose the deeper route, put it on Bradley, and he just dropped it. So there was plenty of blame to go around. Obviously, the kicker, Gino Garcia, he missed two kicks, had a third one blocked. So that's, the special teams also didn't play well. So really, in all three phases of the game, Tech struggled mightily. I mentioned the penalties. Just some really sloppy play from Texas Tech, sloppy tackling at times. I thought the defense looked really bad at times, especially compared to last year, which I'm surprised. And I think ultimately, what I'm really concerned about and maybe surprised about the most is that there was absolutely, at times, zero pass rush. They got in for a couple of sacks, but I mean, most of the time it was either Tony Bradford or Jalen Hutchings, your nose guard and defensive tackle. And, from the outside, I think Miles Cole had one big quarterback hurry in that second overtime, which set up a fourth down, which Wyoming scored on, and then, of course, got the 2-point conversion. But other than that, Texas Tech got very little pressure on Wyoming in terms of a pass rush. And that's just not what we were expecting at all. It's not what we had seen this offseason. It's not what we had heard about this offseason. So, I mean, that's a concern moving forward. Very little pass rush. Concern at inside linebacker. Concern about the kicking game. Concern about the offensive tackles. And I think Tyler Shough will come around. There's a lot of people clamoring for Baron Morgan, and I get it. I mean, I think after a loss like that, it's fair to criticize and question about everything. And one would hope that Texas Tech coaches are going back to the drawing board. And I think I just want to close with this. Two things, actually. One, with the offseason with so much hype, to come out and lay an absolute egg like this is beyond disappointing. And I get that. I think it would be disingenuous not to acknowledge that this is a huge loss that stymies a lot of momentum from the end of last season. But I also think college football and football in general is, I was saying analogy or metaphor earlier, and it's a great metaphor for life. I mean, you are going to get knocked down. And sometimes it's going to be your fault. Sometimes somebody else is going to help you, help you get to the ground. You got to pick yourself up. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And I think there's plenty of opportunities. Now, Oregon's coming to town next week. They just put up 81 points on it's Portland State. But still, everybody's going to be counting Tech out. If you win that game somehow, which sounds crazy right after losing to Wyoming, but that's life, that's football, then a 1-1 start isn't so bad. You start 0-2, and then you have Tarleton State. I mean, that would be a very disappointing non-conference final result going into Big 12 play. But still, even then, things are still out there for you. There's still opportunities. But make no mistake, this is a bitter pill to swallow. This is a rough loss. I mean, this is easily the roughest loss of the young Joey McGuire era, and I think it's going to be on his record, no matter what, forever, and rightfully so. And this Texas Tech team, but all you can do is, one of their sayings are, what's next. So what's next is Oregon. Let's see how Texas Tech does at home against the Ducks. They really need to, at this point, pull off the upset. I think it would have been just a small upset going into the season. Now, it would probably be considered a big upset. Texas Tech really needs an upset win over Oregon to kind of get that momentum back. So we're not going anywhere. We've been through it with Texas Tech, the ups and the downs, and we're going to have all kinds of preview content all week. And we'll be here to answer questions and talk with you about what we saw, what we're expecting, what are our expectations now after this result. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.